So I came to you in 2022 with a bunch of covers,
Yes.
crazy kind of covers. And so I booked 3 days with you in the studio. It was the first time we were working together face to face. And you looked
Yeah.
at all the charts that I'd sent and you said, we don't need 3 days to do all this stuff. I said, if I'm coming all the way out there, let's book the 3 days and we'll find something else to do on the third day because I have other stuff, originals that we can work on. So
And that
ended
was
up
my favorite day of all of them, by the way.
yeah,
That
well, I
was
mean,
that was
that's
my favorite.
those are the things we're going to talk about today. So what
Yeah.
ended up happening was we did the mashup covers that you talked about, Moody Blues and Metallica, yes, with Michael Jackson, Kanye West. I don't know how I got you to play something along to Kanye West.
Let's
I'm like,
not. Can we not
Kanye
mention him now? Has he done enough? Has he done enough? I mean, what else is he going to do? He's wearing a swastika shirt. Come on, come on. No, no, seriously. Like, let's
well,
call that. Look, hey, hey,
we messed
edit, cut, and say the Daft Punk cover we did.
the Daft.
Okay,
Fine, fine, yeah. Well,
okay, please,
we
please.
obliterated that Timberland tempo from 104 to 126. So okay. And then I had this version of Michael Bolton, How Am I Supposed to Live Without You, that I had brought. And I ended up thinking about when doing that original covers concept, I said, let me just do mashup covers. So that got pushed, and that was just released last month.
It's awesome.
Right. So when I started, okay, it's easy to make fun of that song, right? Because it's such a cliche early 90s soft rock, light FM, and that horrible DX7 sound and all that stuff. But when you, with a little bit more maturity, you go back and listen to it, like the song itself, the chords and the melody and everything, it's a great song. It's a
Yeah,
really
it is. It
great
is.
song.
It is, and it's when it comes down to it, my personal Michael Bolton situation is different than every other person because I think of Michael Bolton as the singer from Blackjack. So,
Right.
really
So
quick,
this is,
really
yes.
quick, no, really quick. This is
Go
important.
ahead.
This
Go,
is
no, go
important.
through it. I want you to say, I was going to ask you to talk about this.
This is important.
Yeah.
So, when I was in high school,
Yeah.
my high school had a rock ensemble program, which is incredible.
Right.
We did Sergeant Pepper for a show. But by the way, to be in rock ensemble, you had to take classical guitar.
Okay.
And I took classical guitar, and I really got into Christopher Parkening. That was my favorite guy. All the Metallica guys were playing all the, Leyenda and all the fast stuff.
Okay.
Meanwhile, I was doing Christopher Parkening's arrangement of Gino PD 1 through 3. That was my
Okay.
thing. And I
Okay.
was also writing songs and rearranging King Crimson songs,
Right.
which led to
Okay.
my Crimson
Yeah.
Guitar
Right.
record.
Yes.
But we had mentors come in. We had mentors come in. Betty Wright, the singer from Saigon Kick, a bunch of other people. And then one day, an old guy in a funky shirt came in and said, "My name is Tom Dowd." Tom
Okay.
Dowd, legendary producer, did Layla, Eric Clapton, did Cream, Aretha Franklin, Wilson Pickett, Dusty Does Memphis, legendary producer,
Okay.
Rod Stewart. And
Right.
there's an amazing video on YouTube that you should link on this video
I will do.
that's called "The Making of Blackjack." So there was it was a supergroup that was
Uh-huh.
started in 1977 or 78, and it's Tom Dowd producing a supergroup of session musicians that he put together. So it's Sandy Gennaro, amazing drummer who went on to play in the Monkees.
Okay.
Jimmy Haslett, who was fresh off of playing on Brother the Brother by Gino Vanelli, bass
Okay.
player, amazing. He
Okay.
was also playing with Tommy Bolin at the time. The guitar player was future Kiss member Bruce Kulick,
Okay.
and the singer Michael Bolotin,
Bulletin.
Bollotin, Bolotin.
Yeah.
I'm surprised he didn't go with Michael Bulletin, but Michael Bolton works. And he was touted in the video as being the next Lou Graham, the next
Whoa.
big, the next guy from Bad Company, singer from Bad Company.
Oh,
Why am I losing it right now?
oh, what's his name?
Bruce. Paul Rogers. Okay, hold on. That's a fresh added point. He was touted as being the next Paul Rogers. He was touted
Okay.
as being like the next big, you
Right.
know, blues rock frontman.
Right.
And they made an incredible record, and it's really cool. It's a great, like they call it AOR, adult oriented
Yeah, sure.
radio, modern rock, and it didn't do well. It sank actually. So, but you know, that's when I think of Michael Bolton. I've heard that record more. I don't think I've ever heard an entire Michael Bolton record, but I own both Blackjack records.
Okay.
So he's just like, you know, but hey, he found his niche.
Yeah.
Similar vein than Rod Stewart. You know, Rod Stewart started off as the singer of the Faces and the
Mhm.
Jeff Beck group, and he
Yep.
ended up making his biggest money off of ballads. You know, and
Yeah.
now he does
Yeah.
American Songbook. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
so you know when I remember, and I remember. So I grew up in the MTV generation. I'm 44. I was born in 1980,
Right.
and I remember watching the Michael Bolton videos. You know, my favorite was "Said I loved you, but I lied." What? Who says that? That's I remember going that song definitely confused me as a kid and going lyrics are stupid, but you know whatever it is what it is. I remember him being like you know this like Paul Young type guy, you know,
Uh-huh.
like
Yeah.
he's got an old man's voice. He's a young dude,
Yeah.
and you know the chicks dig it. So, but
That long
we
mane of
definitely,
flowing hair that he had back in those days as well.
but you know what? It really helped for me to be able to take this version with you know dead serious and you know take it as a great assault and say it's a great song
Yeah.
and it deserves better.
Right.
Because
So
I mean,
so look,
if
when
I
I
had a
when I
dollar for every great song that was ruined by 80s
yeah,
and 90s production, you
seriously.
know,
So when I started
so we
listening to
killed
it,
it.
and I thought, all right, let's do something with this. And then I said, all right, well, somebody else must. I didn't want to repeat what someone else has done. I couldn't find anybody that had covered this as a rock song. Like there's a bunch of people on YouTube that are covering it, bedroom acoustic guitar style or copying Bolton style, but nobody remade the song. So I said, all right, let's redo this, reharmonized it so that it has more of a, like you said, like more of a blues rock, straight ahead power chord kind of feel to it. And that's where we went with it. But when we're gonna, so let's listen to it, and then we're gonna go through. I'm gonna break down how I changed the form and the choices that we made in terms of the arrangement to deliver the emotion of the song.
Let's rock. Bowie, or like T-Rex.
I could hardly believe it when I heard the news today.
Okay, stop for a second.
Yeah, yeah.
The last thing I expected was a halftime with that intro. That's pretty cool. That's almost like a cool curveball because it starts off like like Bang a Gong or Jeepster or not Jeepster. You know, it just has that 50s vibe.
Well,
And then when
it's
the
funny you
drums
say
come in,
that because the first demo that I did of this, I hired some drummer off of Fiverr and I sent him the chart, 64 beats per minute, and he sent
yeah.
me back the take at 128 beats per minute. And I'm like, dude, it's halftime. Like, I don't want it to be like a metal, fast tempo. It's supposed to be slow. He's like, oh, I got to redo it. I'm like, yeah, you got to redo it. I sent you the chart at 64 beats per minute. So that was deliberate.
Ah, well, it's a good, what do they call it? Fake out.
Uh-huh.
You know, it's sort of this type of sway music.
I could hardly believe it when I heard the news today.
I love Phaser.
I had to come and
I've
get
never had a
it
pedal board
straight
without a
from
Phaser.
you. They said you were leaving. Someone slipped your heart away. From the look upon your face, I see it's true. So tell me all about it. Tell me about the plans you're making. Tell me one thing more before I go. Tell me how am I supposed
lack in speed, I make up for it in melody, and that is
Obviously,
a
that's
perfect.
why you're here.
Well, here's the thing. Going back to my painful experience playing guitar in high school,
Right.
is that I was the slowest kid in the school. Everybody else was idolizing Joe Satriani, Steve
Mhm.
Vai. You know, Nobody liked Eric Johnson for some reason. Everybody was really more into like Megadeth, Metallica, Joe
Right.
Satriani, Steve Vai. Everybody had an ESP or an Ibanez, and everybody was shredding their asses off. Meanwhile, my one of my earliest influences was Carlos Santana,
Okay.
and it's a perfect example of a guy who juices every freaking note until it's like dry as a bone because every note hits you. And
Hmm.
with this solo, I wanted to go for pure emotion, and also I wanted to highlight all what I call the juice notes of a record. And it's a great progression. And there's a point where I do some like it's almost like a violin line or something from a
Yeah.
tango
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
So my influences, when I approach the guitar, this is actually something really interesting. Um, I didn't learn all my scales and modes. If you told me to play a Phrygian mode, I no, I don't know. 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 I really don't. But what I think about it is, for example, I look at my hands and I see what the chords are doing, and I see patterns around the chords. I've been told I'm like slightly on the spectrum, so it
Okay.
might be some weird autism thing where when I look at my guitar neck, I see patterns and I see shapes. I see geometric shapes. It's dark, and I
Yeah.
wanted to evoke some of that feeling. And I also listen to the lyrics and I say, this guy, how's he supposed to live without you?
That's what I
It's
want to
a
get.
dark lyric,
Yeah.
and that's the thing is that um, even the darkest songs of the 80s and 90s were produced so shiny and bright. It's great that this song has a little bit of grime,
Right.
and it's got a little, nobody dresses up when they're sad.
Right.
When girls
So
get sad, they put on
yeah.
their sweatpants and they eat the ice cream watching TV crying. When guys get sad, they're sitting around, they wake up with an empty bottle of wine next to the
Uh-huh.
couch, and a bunch of open bags of Cheetos.
Right.
You know, that's the vibe here. It's like,
Yeah.
desperation and grime.
Right.
And
So
like the
this
sound
the
that we pick too is also very, very um I would say it's just like it's dark and like
yes.
dark alley,
Yes.
dark
Yes.
alley, dark alley. That's the vibe.
All right. So look, when I thought about the lyrics of the song and what's the message of the song, so the guy is saying, basically, it was like the lover that got away, that kind of a thing. And, then you find out that you always kind of held out hope that, oh, maybe it will work out someday. But then you find out, no, I found out she's getting married to somebody else. She's moving away. Okay. And then it's like he breaks down. How am I supposed to live without you? How am I supposed to carry on? All that I've been living for is gone. So,
Yeah.
that the thing is, that's very desperate, as you said, and it requires all that sad feeling in there. The trouble is that the second verse of the song, and it shows this in the video, you find out that actually the guy was just like in the friend zone. He was like best friends with the girl, and he never told her, according to what's depicted in the video, he never told her that he loved her. And then he waited till it was too late, and she's all happy to tell him I fell in love with somebody else. He goes, well, actually, I got this ring for you. I wanted to tell you that I've always had really been in love with you. And she goes
Yeah.
crazy. I didn't want to do that second verse because I don't think it fits. I mean, that's not my style. If you love someone, you go and tell them. Have the balls talk to the girl and tell her, "Hey, I want you." Don't go hide in the friend zone and then come after the fact. So I'm like, you know what?
I
I
have
don't
the
want to sing
perfect
that second
antidote for
verse.
this. I have the perfect antidote for this.
Okay.
Did you know that Don Henley sued someone for writing an extra verse to End of the Innocence?
I'm not surprised, but
Some guy
I
wrote a
have a
new verse for
plan.
End of the Innocence,
I have a
but you
plan.
won't get sued for eliminating a verse.
Okay. Well,
So you're
I
good.
have
You
look,
you
hold on.
did
Let me take a tangent and talk about Don Henley for a second. I have a
yeah, yeah.
plan, and you're going to factor into this.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
We cannot change Don Henley songs, and he doesn't even allow you to do covers on YouTube
I know.
because you need a sync license and all that stuff. But what you can do is you can cover his songs, pay the mechanical license, the compulsory license, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make an album. I'm going to get a whole bunch of people. We're going to do out of tune guitars, horrible singing, okay, and we're going to do an album of Don Henley covers just to say screw you. We're doing it the legal way, but we're ruining your songs instead of giving us the chance to do something brilliant and beautiful with your songs. we're going to take the same song and we're going to make it sound horrible, and you'll make money out of it, but we're going to spite you. So
Dirty your laundry.
that's my Don Henley bit.
All right,
So,
cool, cool.
but in this song, my thought was instead of that second verse, let's not go back to the tonic. Let's not resolve. We're in F major. Let's not resolve to F major.
Yeah.
Let's resolve to a D minor. And then the progression of that solo is kind of like a minor blues: D minor, G minor, A minor. Then you play that super emotive solo over that. So it's like, yeah, I can't go on. I lost the love of my life, and the guitar says it all. We don't need another verse to explain that. And then from there, we modulate to a D major. And then the second chorus is in D major, but it's with a different, well, we changed the time signature as well from 4/4 to 5/8.
That's so cool. That's so cool. Yeah, that ending is awesome, man. That's a real.
So the thought there was, if you're that desperate, you're like exasperated, and you're speaking more slowly, you're just like expressing it more slowly. That was the idea behind changing the time signature to stretch it out over 5 minutes instead of 4. So it's like, how am I supposed to live without you? Instead of how am I supposed to live without you? It's stretched out.
Nice little moment of guitar. Who's on organ?
Matt Brown.
Sounds awesome.
And there's a piano ostinato in there also.
Yeah. Again with those evil notes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm all about that.
This version, this part is. This part reminds me of something.
Which part are you at right now? Because the sound's not coming through the phone.
Oh yeah. The big epic.
Oh yeah. I'll tell you what it was inspired by. It was inspired by Pearl Jam Black.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah.
Even that piano bit in there, like that. Yeah, right. That's kind of what it was all about.
No, but it reminds me of something else. Save a Prayer. It reminds me of Save a Prayer by Duran Duran. Save a prayer for the morning after.
Oh yeah.
That ending, the fade out. It reminds me of Save a Prayer.
Okay. I can go back and listen to that.
That song is amazing, by the way. That song is amazing. That's the best Duran Duran song. That in Ordinary World.
Yeah.
All right. Hell yeah. Dude, it was amazing being part of this journey. It's definitely the most interesting version of this song, and maybe we should figure out a way to get it to Michael, because I think he might actually dig it. It's wild.
You mentioned your whole rock history lesson about Michael Bolton and Blackjack and all that stuff. So it's funny because it takes me back to when we started working together. And it's like, all right, we're in the studio working on the music, and then whenever we were at the diner, in the car, or whatever, I felt like I was in the movie School of Rock, and you're Dewey Finn, and you're like, rock history, rock
Yeah.
appreciation, and theory, and you gave me all of that. It's like you're just an encyclopedia of all that stuff. So it's so great to learn, because I thought I was a rock history professor. Like,
Yeah.
you're on another level.
Well, I love, I'm definitely a product of my record collection and a product of my musical discovery journey. And lately I've been discovering a lot of new music walking every day, listening to a record
I've
I've never
noticed
heard
that.
before.
Yeah.
So you got to check out Ian Dury and the Blockheads. It's actually
Okay.
way more interesting than anything it's musically very interesting what's going on there. But no, yeah, man, this is great. So we'll move on now to another song, and I think it's really interesting to like revisit these songs and also look into what you were going for, because you're a mad scientist, you're a Frankenstein. It's very cool.
Well, yeah, I mean, that one, it was like, if you're gonna do, I don't believe in straight covers. If you're gonna do a cover, and you've done plenty of covers in your day, and I should throw a shout out to your instrumental cover of All My Loving that
Yeah.
Olivia Harrison handpicked for Beatles 64 and was shared on the Beatles Instagram page.
Instagram, which
So,
is amazing. One of the biggest feathers in my hat I've had
totally.
ever. But it was totally me one saying this song would work really well as a surf tune, and it worked
Yeah.
great.
By the way, talk about you. Didn't you just come back from Abbey Road once again?
Well, that was a surprise. I didn't know we were working at Abbey Road that day. Basically, I worked at Abbey Road. I did a whole day at Abbey Road in 2018 for my album Zebra
Right.
Crossing.
Right.
And then I was out in London with Jim Camacho doing a singer-songwriter showcase, and he decided to film and record a couple of episodes of his songwriting web series and podcast. And he said, "Oh, we're going to go to a studio that's near Abbey Road, but first we're going to go to Abbey Road and take some pictures on the crossing." And when we get there, he just kind of moseyed into the place, and I'm like, "Well, he's about to get thrown out." And then all of a sudden, he just waved and said, "Come on in." And I'm like, "What's going on?" And next thing you know, he just let me know that he didn't tell me that we were recording at Abbey Road that day. So next thing you know, I'm behind an eave in the Gatehouse studio, which is the smallest studio there, but still on the grounds. You know, it's
Right.
amazing. Actually, it's an incredible service they have there, where you could not have to spend more than $1,000 a day and record on on the premises and share
Really?
the canteen and the bathroom and go in. Dude, the
Whoa.
Gatehouse studio is £750 a
No,
day.
come on. Really?
No, yep.
All
Let's
right.
go.
Put that on my wish list, my bucket list.
Let's go. It's a small studio. It's smaller than mine, but if we did guitars, vocals, and you could set up a drum kit, but really it's more of like a place where we
Yeah.
do all the basic tracking, and you go
Yeah.
there for overdubs and mixing.
Yeah. When I lived in London, I lived for 2 years. I lived right around the corner from Abbey Road Studio. I used to walk across
No
that
way.
every day. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my God, that would be
Yeah.
an amazing way to live.
Yeah.
You know what's really funny? Their computer had less plugins than I do. They didn't have any wave shit. It was weird, but it's cool though. It was an amazing time. It was very
Well,
fun.
when I was there was when George Harrison died. So, there was a visual outside of Abbey Road. I was there for that. I mean, that was an amazing
Uh,
time in my life, actually, living in London those 2 years. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I hate that we have two of those days coming, in the next 20 years,
I
now
know.
that Paul and Ringo are, I mean,
Yeah.
let's just face it, they're not going to make it to 100, or if they do, maybe 102. But, we're definitely going to have a world without Beatles in 25 years.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those things where there's one clip
Yeah,
on YouTube where it shows Paul McCartney singing Blackbird from like 1965 to the present day. And you get choked up because it's like a movie of your life, the soundtrack of your life.
it
You hear it
is.
changing over freaking 6 decades now.
I know. Well, I'm glad we're all very lucky to still have
No, what
Paul
a
and Ringo.
gift. What a gift. What a gift they gave us. It's like the gift that just keeps on giving. I mean, amazing stuff.
Yeah. Well, I never not tear up when I listen to certain Beatles songs, and I
No, me
never
too.
not
Me
get the
too.
feels. This is the music that made me who I am. I'd be working a way more stable life. I'd have a way more stable life if it wasn't for the Beatles.
Well, then we wouldn't be here.
I'd be
So,
working. I could have
thank,
been a doctor.
thanks,
I could have
thanks,
been a lawyer.
Tab.
I could have been a doctor. Sorry, the Beatles ruined it.
Yeah.
Awesome, brother. All
All
right,
right.
well, let's
So
do this.
let's hook up again. We're gonna go to the next song now.